Yorana, and welcome to Filled with His Love. I want to talk about greetings today. They happen every day, all day. They're so simple, so short. They can be so meaningful or so automatic and kind of meaningless. We say hello, goodbye, have a good day. In Australia, they say good day, mate. And that's how they say hello. In French, they say bonne journée, but as a goodbye rather than as a hello. They say bonjour for good day or hello, which means this bonne journée, have a good day. But they also say good day, good everything, like bonne soirée for have a good evening, bonne semaine, have a good week, bon dimanche, have a good Sunday, and on and on. So many greetings. Nearly every time I go to the temple here in Tahiti, I see an older man, and believe it, even older than I am. He serves in the temple every day. He greets me each time in the same way. As I extend my hand, he grabs it tightly with both of his hands, looks me straight in the eye, and says, Maururu te wharerera, Maururu te wharerera. Sometimes he repeats it 3 times, which means literally, oh, thanks for the meeting. In English, I think we would say, it is so good to see you. The way he says it is the powerful thing. No matter how many times we greet each other, it sounds like it's the first time and that he's known me all my life. But he hasn't. We never met until I came to Tahiti on this mission. He didn't know me as a young missionary, but it feels somehow as if he did. That's the beauty of the way he greets me. He is a particularly humble man. You feel like he's never had a self-centered thought in his life. He just reaches out to others with love. He's helped me see the power that greetings can have. And he's made me reflect on some greeting moments in my own life. As you listen to my greeting moments, I hope you'll think of some of your own greeting moments in your life. There are some unique differences in hellos and goodbyes. In Tahiti, they hang flower leis around your neck, as they do in Hawaii. They call them hays here, or coquillage in French. This is the French shell ones are called coquillage. This is their way of saying, welcome to our island. It's a greeting. But when they say goodbye, they hang shell leis around your neck. The flowers fade, but the shells last. When the flowers fade, you're still together, so you can keep greeting each other in person. But when you part, the shells can be a continuing reminder of the love that is formed between the giver and the receiver of the shells. On my first mission, I got so many shell leis, stacked higher and higher until I could hardly breathe. When I got on the plane to return home, I asked if anyone on the plane would like a shell lei as a souvenir from Tahiti. I literally had 10, 15, 20 pounds of these things. Most passengers raised their hands, but I still had a lot left over. On my first date with Lolly, I greeted her at the door and hung a shell lei around her neck. In 2019, we brought our kids and their spouses with us to Tahiti. As we entered the airport, we saw a group of Tahitians playing and singing Tahitian songs as part of their way of greeting the passengers. I asked them if they knew the song Bora Bora. They nodded their heads and began playing that tune. Now, we wrote a song for each of our kids when they were born and sang it to them as they were growing up. Each of the tunes was a Tahitian song, and the Bora Bora tune, that was the tune for our oldest son. Russ's songs, say, Little Russell, special boy, Little Russell, the angels up in heaven, etc. So when Russ passed by the Tahitian singers, he heard his song. He said, wow, they actually played my song for me. It was a fun moment, a special greeting. So missionary hellos and goodbyes are also memorable. Listening to a missionary's talk in sacrament meeting before they depart. We used to call them farewells, remember? This was kind of a special thing to say goodbye to them. Waving goodbye to them at the airport. We see these scenes all the time when we go to the airport. Welcoming them back home after they've been away for 2 years or 18 months. We see that all the time. Whenever you travel to Salt Lake, there will be large family groups welcoming missionaries back. They have balloons, they have signs, they all kinds of things. All to say, Maururu te wharerera. In other words, it is so good to have you back with us. It is so good to see you. When I served as Sunday School General President, I had some amazing welcomes. Imagine this scene. Plane lands in Bucaramanga, Colombia. Now, who's ever heard of Bucaramanga, Colombia? I hadn't heard of that, but there it is. It's a city in northern Colombia. Scores of people waiting for us. Flowers everywhere. The runway was high on a mountaintop. We had to descend into the city on a large, steep, downhill, winding road. We arrived at the hotel, more flowers everywhere in the room. Felt like the President and the First Lady of Colombia. Evening, special program with music, dancing, kids, adults, Colombian celebration. At the end of the evening, they gave us a symbolic key to the city. Now, who's ever had a key to the city given to? I mean, we were treated like royalty. Next day, even more memorable. When I received the assignment to visit Colombia, I assumed we would be going to Bogota, the capital city. But President Beck of the Young Men was asked to visit that city. So I wrote the one Colombian missionary who served with us in the Dakotas. We had one missionary who came to the Dakotas from Colombia, a truly amazing missionary. I told him we'd be coming to Colombia, but it would be to Bucaramanga. Now, I assumed he lived in another city. He said, "Oh, great, that's my city. You can meet my family," which to me was quite a miracle. The only Colombian person we ever knew in the world was this Elder Rojas, and there he was telling me that this was his city, the one we had been assigned to come to. So that evening, we had an over-the-top visit with our missionaries' family, parents, grandparents, siblings, generational. It was beautiful. What a greeting we had to Colombia. Now, as a professor at BYU, I also had my unforgettable greeting moments. The foundation in New York City asked me to help schools, to work with them actually, to help schools in China learn how to use technology with students with disabilities. As we approached the school for those with developmental disabilities, the long sidewalk was lined with hundreds of children and their teachers playing loud Chinese instruments. They were holding banners that said, "Welcome" in Chinese, "Welcome to our school." So as we walked along the sidewalk, they sang and extended their hands to shake ours. It was unforgettable. Then later, when we visited the school for the deaf, the principal brought us a case of beer as a welcome gift. We had 6 students with us, so he was giving this beer to all of us, a big case of it. And I expressed a lot of thanks and explained we would not be drinking it, so he gave the beer to the teachers. The next day, he came to me and he said, "Oh, wow, the teachers all love you," after they got the beer. Unfortunately, alcohol is a common way for some cultures to give greetings. So we not only had to deal with beer in the School for the Deaf, but at large conference table that we were at with government and education leaders seated all around in China, the host stood and asked us to lift our glass of Mao Tai for a welcome toast. Now, if you haven't ever heard of Mao Tai, the alcohol content is so high in this drink that you can smell the fumes when you walk in the room. I had never experienced anything like that. A New Yorker who was traveling with us said, "You could run your car on this stuff. It's such high alcohol." So when the toast was made, I lifted my orange juice along with all the others as they lifted their glass of Mao Tai. The host called me out and said, "No, no, no, no. You must drink the Mao Tai. You must drink the Mao Tai." I was at the other end of the table, so I just smiled because I couldn't communicate with him and held my glass of orange juice. I then saw my host lean down and talk to the interpreter for just a brief moment. And the host immediately acknowledged me and said, "Oh, no, it's okay. You can use the orange juice." Following the meeting, I asked my interpreter what he had told the host. "Oh, I just said that you were allergic to alcohol, and if you drank it, you would die." If I had told him that it was because of your religion, he never would have understood. So I kind of told a little fib. I told him that you would die if you drank it, which I think I probably would have anyway. We spent 5 months in France in 1994. The welcome gift from our neighbors, a large bottle of champagne. At the end of our stay, there was the bottle of champagne still sitting there. We decided to give that bottle to our landlord. Along with the bottle of champagne, we gave him a Book of Mormon. Okay, that's a bit of an odd combination, but it seemed appropriate at the moment. He held up the bottle and said, "Oh, thank you. This is a gift for the body." And then he clutched the Book of Mormon with the other hand, placed it over his heart, and said, "Oh, and also a gift for the soul." So many ways to say goodbye and hello. My whole point in this podcast is to help raise our sights a little bit about the importance of greetings. And by the way, I'm not suggesting we use alcohol in any way for a greeting. They are much more important than we might think, these ways that we greet each other. I told those stories with alcohol because it shows how greetings are unique to each culture, and so many greetings include food or drinks. Gifts at greetings are a way of showing our love to someone, our appreciation for their visit, and sometimes our gift is simply a word or a phrase. When our oldest grandson Wesley was 3 years old, we were off to somewhere, I can't remember where, and he looked up at us, to his grandma and grandpa, and he said, "Madonna, miss you." Only 3 years old. But Lolly and I still use that little phrase with each other when we need to leave one another. I look at her or she looks at me and says, "Madonna, miss you." I can't think of a more powerful way to say goodbye than "Madonna, miss you." So I hope you'll think of how you say hello and goodbye to others and how they say hello and goodbye to you. With each greeting, we give a little bit of ourselves to the other person. A hello is a way of saying, "I want you to be a part of me." And goodbye is a way of saying, "I want you to take a part of me with you, and I want to keep a part of you with me." Now, let's think celestial. What were the goodbyes like when we left our pre-earth life to come here? We don't really know exactly, but we know a lot about the farewells in mortality. They're called funerals. Funerals are a greeting, a way of saying goodbye. But what about the greetings we will experience on the other side of the veil? I knew only one grandparent in this life, and I am absolutely certain my grandma will be there to greet me. But I'm equally certain that my other 3 grandparents will be there, even though I did not know them closely in mortality. Think of it. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, so many family members. The greeting might be a little bit like that scene in China with all the students and teachers on either side of the walkway approaching the school. Celebrations, welcoming, renewing friendships that have been on hold or that never occurred on this side of the veil. We know from Scripture of divine embrace. Lehi said, "I am encircled about eternally in the arms of his love." And Mormon, when he was lamenting about his people repenting, he said that they might have been clasped in the arms of Jesus. The Lord greets us with a divine embrace. When we draw near to him, he draws near to us, so near that we feel his embrace. When he appeared to the Nephites, he invited them to feel the prints of the nails in his hands and feet. My image is one of embrace after embrace after embrace. He was there on the other side of the veil when we came to earth, and he will be there to greet us when we return. He is part of us, and we of him. We can all feel his embrace now, and we can help others feel his embrace every time we greet them. Like my friend in the temple, we can say, "Maururu te wharerera, Maururu te wharerera." It is so good to see you, so good to see you again. And when we say goodbye, we can say it like our grandson Wesley, "Madonna, miss you."